Welcome to Plot Recon, where thrillers get tactical. I'm your host, Evan Graver. Today I'm joined by Andi Lodge, author of the Gulf Coast Mystery Series featuring Hilda Mae Palmer, a landscaper who gets pulled into dangerous situations that most people would run from. She's also adding to her catalog with her newest novel, a crossover called Defending the Gulf Coast, a Jace Thompson novel. Andi's stories are set against a region she knows inside and out with a strong sense of character and place. She's an award-winning photographer, worked in communications at the Atlantic Undersea Testing and Evaluation Center in Andros in the Bahamas, and spent 24 years teaching math to recalcitrant high school students. We're going to dig into how she structures her novels, develops a long-range arc, and why she chooses to write a protagonist without a badge and a gun and still keep the tensions high. So, Andi, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to dig right into it. So tell me about working at Autech in the Bahamas. What'd you do down there?
Well, I worked in communications. I started off as a telephone operator and then went into crypto
Okay.
and message trafficking, and I enjoy that a lot.
All right.
Even the telephone operations was fun because this was back in the 80s before cell phones really were around. And to get a call out, they kind of had to go through me, and so I was spoiled, and so were my operators.
So for those of listeners who don't know what Autech is, just can you give them a brief rundown of what it does?
Yes, it's if you're familiar with the movie Hunt for Red October, where the like the Russian sub comes and Americans hunt it. Well, it is a testing and evaluation in the deepest part of the ocean there. It's called the tongue of the ocean. And they lay cables on the ground, and they can replicate sounds from a dog barking to whales to speedboat chases, different submarines and stuff. And they go down and like play hide and seek, hunt for, and then hunt each other. And then of course they have the air support from the helicopters and that thing. But it's all about our allied navies and ours coming together to improve their tactical training.
That's awesome. I wrote about Autech in one of my books, so my readers might know about it if they've been that deep into my series. But it is a very cool place. The tongue of the ocean is isolated, so they can get a lot of good sound out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of that stuff is secret, so we don't know exactly what goes on there, do we?
No.
So,
Yeah, there's at least 7 years was the shortest period that I could before I could say anything about some of the things. I witnessed. My great nephew now is big into he likes battleships and things. So I was telling you about when the USS Bruins ran aground into a coral reef, but then nobody on the rescue boats had a knife, and they all had sunk 2 tugs. So that was after that everybody had to carry a knife, so they couldn't cut the rope.
Yeah. So you decided to write Hilda Mae set in the Gulf Coast, which is where you live, in the Florida Panhandle. When you're writing, what comes first for you? Is it the character, the trouble the character gets into, or the resolution for the trouble?
The trouble the character gets into. Is this something that'll pop up? And I thought, oh, well, that's kind of cool to write about.
Okay. Do you get your ideas from just being out and about, maybe overhearing a conversation or witnessing altercations between people?
Yeah, TV. Just
Yeah.
being out and about and just thinking, or just seeing something, thinking, oh, that might be interesting. Some of my hospital scenes are from actual experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the best way to write is
Yeah.
they say write what you know. So if you know it, then you can really dig into it.
Yeah.
So what do you think the advantages of having a protagonist without law enforcement powers is?
Well, it's someone the reader can relate to if they don't have law enforcement experience. and it's somebody that's like it's like them, that they have to rely on their self and the resources that they have at hand, or be creative about trying to come to a resolution.
Okay. And how often does your character actually interact with law enforcement?
Um, Pretty a lot, because one of the characters that pops up frequently is a detective with the sheriff's department in Santa Rosa County, is where I write about a lot. And Hilda May's boyfriend is, they think he's an IT guy, but he's really the agent in charge of a special operations group.
Okay. So does with your character being a civilian, does she have an antagonistic relationship with the police? The police don't want to listen to her.
Um, just a little, not bad. It's not bad. It's she appreciates them for what they do, but gets frustrated with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So how do you keep the tension taut with your main character? Does she just do you drive her with a lot of internal dialogue, or do you find that there's a lot of violence with the investigation?
It's something I try to write where something that she's got an emotional stake in,
Okay.
uh, and she has something from her childhood that kind of drives her. With Jace, it's he's wants to do he has a high moral content and wants to protect our country. But with Hilda May, it's something that happened in her childhood that makes her want to always help.
Okay.
There's people in this world are helpers, or they're needy, and she's one of the helpers and likes to. Um, yeah, or there may be like an internal conflict with a character, or they may have a different opinion with someone, so that kind of keeps the tension going.
Okay. Um, you write everything is set on a Gulf Coast, as we said earlier. There's a lot of writers who write in that same area. What do you think that they get wrong about the setting?
Um, Sometimes I really haven't noticed a lot of that, but it may be just like a street name wrong or something,
Okay.
or just the atmosphere doesn't fit the locale.
Right.
But for the most part, I really haven't noticed anything. I know, like Kirk Jockle writes about Appalach, Fort St. Joe area, and I go down there a lot, so that's he's pretty accurate. So the ones that I've read are pretty accurate. And even with me, I try to be as accurate as I can. And growing up here, it's much easier,
Yeah.
because I have a familiarity with it. In fact, one of my readers messaged me and told me, she said, I was driving down the road. I didn't know that place. That's right in that book. And the local postmaster in Baghdad, where the Jason Thompson series is based, she said she has people come in and look up at the ceiling and trying to find out where something was hidden in the book. And they're wondering which tile it was hidden behind.
That's always
She said, I
fun.
always tell they've read your book because their eyes just go doop, doop, doop.
That's always fun to have that connection with
Hmm.
the readers.
Yeah.
Do you find that sometimes it's just easier to invent something in the area to go with the story? Maybe you don't want to get sued for uh, misrepresentation or something like that.
Um, I I do. I try to be very careful about that. And not use a lot of names for like businesses and things. Unless I've got express permission from the owner. But yeah, I try to be kind of general to cover it, because you
Okay.
don't want people to.
Yeah, you don't want to offend people and have them.
Mhm.
Uh,
Like, that's my favorite store. How could dare you?
yeah, yeah. Especially when you write about a small community like that and everybody
Yeah.
kind of knows everybody.
hmm
You don't want
and
to be.
like and being a landscaper, she travels a lot around the community area, and she goes Pensacola, Perdido, and one place I mentioned was Coffee Springs, Alabama, which is over near Dothan, and and it's all small town people but there's a wide variety of people there, in it because there's a lot of military in our area, and um, so you have all types of personalities,
Okay.
and that kind of so you have to be very conscious of like, well, is this going to bother this one or that one? You know, but most
Yeah.
people seem to be okay with it.
Yeah. It's a fine edge to walk when you're um,
Mhm.
trying to find to put realism into your books, which you already talked about how much you put in the Gulf Coast. What other experiences are you putting into the book? Are your time with Autech or teaching or
Mhm.
photography?
A little bit of everything. It's like people ask me all the time. It's like I'm trying to figure out who this character is in real life, and I said, well, it's combinations of people. I never just do one character, except for the time I did Wayne Stennett. Borrowed his name and created a character, and people say, "Hey, that's a lot like Wayne," But I try to do a compilation because. Uh, I don't want it to be, somebody say, "Oh, well, you imitated me in real life," and I'm like, "No, no, I don't want to do that. I want to make it a well-rounded person that's got this characteristic that I need for this part in the book." Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I've only really imitated one character, and that's my good friend Richie, and you know, I have a lot of stories about him, so they show up in my books. So
Well, I have a lot of stories about me, so I just hide them in there.
yeah, and I
And a
think
lot of people
that's
think Hilda May is me, so some of her exploits are, but she's not me.
yeah, I think that's the best way to go is just to put yourself in the book, and
Mhm.
whether the readers know it's actually you or not,
Yeah.
it's always fun
Well,
to.
when I'm writing a scene, especially, I'll think, now, how would I react to that? Or how would, like, okay, she has some characteristics like Mary Jo, so and so. How would Mary Jo react to that? Now it may be one characteristic from Mary Jo, but it's like, how would that person react? So I try and think of real people and how they, because some people you would be surprised. You think, oh, well, they'll be all calm and collected, and they go off the rails.
Yeah, yeah, they it's it's definitely fun to put yourself in the book and other people because
Mhm.
other people show up and they see themselves in the book and it may not be them but they can see themselves in the
Mhm.
character and in the book and that's what makes it relatable.
And the people that I've talked to, especially like with Hilda May, they say she's just so real. I could, it's just I can relate to her.
Yeah,
She's got everyday problems and runs a business, and they seem to like that my characters are strong women that
yeah,
speak up.
that is
And
that is a definite category in books. That's
mhm.
so you've nailed a good category there. um how did you decide to make her landscape?
Well, they say write about something. Um, Years ago, I was a part owner in a landscape and nursery, so uh, I just drew from that experience.
Okay. So you can you get specific on what flowers she's planting and how she lays stuff
Mhm.
out.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. So when you're writing this new book with Jace Thompson, how are you approaching the settings? Are they different settings? Are they different atmospheres? Or
Um, well, Jace is from a male perspective, so males tend to look at things differently than females, but it's some of the same locales. Like Jace's book, they're mostly set. He lives in Baghdad, but most of the business part of it is set in Fort Walton. And then they like in his first book, they go to like Orange Beach, places like that. So just like Hilda May, they travel around, but it's a different outlook for, like, like where Hilda May might look at the landscape in there, and then the female part of it, they're more like, oh, hey, look at the diving.
Yeah. It's I've tried to write from the female perspective, and I just don't. My wife says it's not coming across. So,
Well,
uh,
I thought it was a great compliment to me was one of my beta readers said that if he hadn't have known that it was a female writing it, he would have never guessed. And then one of my readers also told me that. And I
I th-
thought, well, hey, I don't think I could. I think I nailed it then.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's easier for a woman to write from a man's perspective than a man to, at least from my experience.
And I think the more that you've experienced different personalities, like with me teaching, you know, uh, 24 years, I saw a lot of different personalities, and you start recognizing characteristics that go with like male or female or just uh, uh, different locations of people. Like some people were more farmer type and more were golfers and that kind of thing. We have some famous golfers from Milton,
Hmm.
like Boo Weekley and Bubba Watson.
Yeah,
And um, so, you recognize things that, you just pick up little traits and things, and it's easier to carry it over into your writing because, you've seen it over and over and over. Where if you're just if you don't work in the public realm, I think sometimes that would limit you unless you're a very social person.
right. Yeah. Um. So we know the setting. It's Gulf Coast gets a lot of weather. How
Hmm.
often are you factoring that into your books?
You mean like hurricanes and things,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
just?
you guys get a lot of rain and hurricanes and
Mhm.
um,
And really, I haven't gone to that realm yet. Like it's one scene, it was like somebody was tossed overboard and floated for a while, that kind of thing.
yeah,
And but it wasn't awful weather. It was just the normal hot, gonna burn you up type thing.
yeah,
But I haven't included a hurricane yet. I haven't decided. I've thought about it, but I haven't decided that's where I want to go.
okay,
Maybe an aftermath of one.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great setting for your characters because
Mhm.
it's a lot of landscape work and a lot
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
military rescue and that kind of thing happening in that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I've thought about it. I haven't, and like thinking ahead of the books that I want to write. I know that I've got like three ideas for Hilda Mays and two or three for the Jace Thompson series, and um, but that one I made a note the other day says, what if this happened? So I put it there, and then when I go into start digging in for a new book, I'll think, oh, okay.
yeah,
Maybe I need to set it here, but I never really know. I'm a pantser, so when I start writing, like this book I'm writing right now, Sold on the Gulf Coast, I thought it was one person was going to be like the main character for the book, and mm-mm.
yeah.
she's got a big part of it, but that's not. Mm-mm. It's like, okay, well, that's interesting.
So I find with pantsers and myself included because I'm a pantser, um, that your characters will talk to you. That they'll
Yes.
just you'll be like, I'm gonna make the character do this, and the character will say, Nah, we're gonna
Uh,
do X, Y, and Z. Are your
mhm.
characters like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
they they just want
Right.
to do their own thing, and the story
Hmm.
just flows with them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, there was a character that came up the other day, and I was writing, and it's an older lady, and she's all demure and sitting there, and she's like covered up with a shawl and stuff, and then this man goes out of the room, and she throws that thing off. She said, all right, now we got to get down to business. And it's like total night and day, and they're like, oh, where did that come from?
they they do that. I had characters that I wrote that like a throwaway character in the book,
uh,
and then they keep showing up, and they
yeah.
15 books later they're still around. So
Well, it's like when I asked Wayne if I could, Wayne Stennett, if I could use his name and uh, in one of my books. He's like, sure. And I thought it'd be one time, just a few chapters. And he was pretty prominent throughout it. And he's in two others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wayne, you keep talking about Wayne. Wayne is came in to Kindle Publishing in about 2010. He was one of the original godfathers of self-publishing in that era, and he's still writing. I mean, he's got gobs of books. I think his character's like 110 years old now. But so, and Wayne was kind of a inspiration for me to start writing too. So he was talk about your relationship with Wayne and how he helped you.
Well, he's just been a big advocate and, encourager. And, like if I have any questions I can ask, and he's like, writes me a page long telling me, hey, look at this way. This is what happens. Advertising, things like that, things that would help make my transition as an author smoother. He's
Yeah.
very much and just a terrific encourager. Cap Daniels actually is the one that got me started writing. And then I had emailed him about Autech and said, hey, well, not Autech, but the Island Andros. And I said, I recognize the places in the book and all. And then um, asked him for some people that would beta read for me. And then through one of the beta readers, I got introduced to Wayne. Of course, I already read his books, but
Mm-hmm.
um, it was like the whole tropical author group are amazing about helping you. If you've got an issue, a question, doesn't matter how silly it is to you, they take it serious. This is how it is. Let's help you do this. Um, and Wayne has just probably been the most vocal about helping me. They're all helpful, but he's very much an encourager. He's a very
Yeah.
big encourager,
Yeah. He and Nick
and he's
Sullivan
not.
do a great job with that group and
Mhm.
um, really bring a lot of authors together that might not have had uh, been put together and had any
Mhm.
type of relationship, but since we all kind of write in that similar genre on the beach and boats and that kind of thing, it's been a
Yeah.
terrific group. And if you guys haven't checked it out, tropicalauthors.com, you can find
Mhm.
all of our work there. Sign up for the newsletter and get twice monthly updates on new
Mhm.
books and releases and
Yeah.
deals.
You can't
So,
be great authors, and I'm thrilled to be part of it.
yeah. Um. So you're right there in the heart of it. You know, you got Kirk Jockle and Cap
Mhm.
Daniels, and do you guys ever get together and shoot the
Well,
breeze?
we tried a couple times that just hadn't worked out. In fact, Wayne came down last year, I think it was, and over near Appalach, and we were all
Yeah.
going to get together, but I zoomed in because I couldn't come that day. But there was like several. I think Eric might have been in it, and Wayne and Dan. I don't know if Dan was there or not. But anyway, we'd all planned to get together and it just didn't work out. But we've got plans to try and get together soon, I hope. I wish I
Yeah.
could go to NINC this year, but I'm not a member yet.
I've not. I've been writing for a lot of years, and I'm not a member. Never been a member. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
the criteria is, you've got to meet the criteria. And,
Yeah.
it takes a while to do that as a new
It
writer.
does. Yeah. And some guys hit it right away, and some guys, some of us just never do. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a hit and miss. I think there's a formula there for you to follow.
Mm.
It's just finding that how you fit into that formula.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Um, but so do you see, with the being able to talk to these other authors and um, how are you applying that to your characters? Are you using that to like a personal growth area, or the story arc of the characters to include some of these other people?
Um, I'm not real sure what you mean. Say, like I borrowed a name, and
Yeah.
from, like I said, I borrowed Wayne's name.
Right.
But other than that, I don't really include them.
Okay. What about Hilda May? Are you, you know, do you have? I know you said you were a pantser, but are you looking outward over an arc of a series, or where she's works through her childhood issues, it goes through emotional growth, that kind of thing?
Actually, some things are resolved in two of the books, and then it's going forward from there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So how are you planning to have a long run with these, or you just until you get bored with them and move on?
Well, until the characters quit talking.
I,
But never dreamed I'd be on my fifth book either. So, yeah, I know that I've got, like I said, three more planned for Hilda May and probably three more planned for Dan in Jace series. But um, I'm gonna write till as long as I can.
yeah.
I enjoy it. It's comic relief. Sometimes my husband will come and he said, "What are you laughing about?" And I said, "You ought to see what these people are doing."
So, do you find that there's like a typical um, characteristics for Gulf Coast characters, um, as far as relationships, dialogue, um, how they
Mhm.
interact with people?
Yes and no. I think you find that anywhere that there's that people are kind of fit a formula of what you think they should be, like the beach bum guy
Yeah,
or the waitress. Um, you have a mindset of what they should be and how they should act, and you'll find it in different places. Like you wouldn't necessarily see a beach bum in New York City. Uh,
I mean,
but
we got
the
Crocodile Dundee in there, and that was
Yeah,
the whole
that's
basis
true
for the
now.
movie. So
Yeah. So you never know if somebody's like misplaced, and it might be an interesting character,
yeah,
uh, or in a fun run. Um, but traits, yeah, you tend to find that like people that like boats, um, there's different types of boat. Like my family's always been into race boats, and I was big into that area when I was young and enjoyed it. And but I was never really into sailboats until I went to Autech. Had a few rides with people, but they tend to be different personalities, but enjoy a same uh, admiration of the water and the movement.
yeah. That,
But people that are sailors for sailboats think differently than people with motorboat type
yes, they
things.
do, and uh, there's always a competition between people. I don't know if it's competition, but there's a um, like a disparity between uh, motorboat people and sailing people. Um, they don't, you know, sailors don't like motorboats, and motorboaters don't like sailors. So,
Yeah. Well, I think the thrill for the motorboat people is the power and the of the motor and
yeah,
the thrill of can I harness this? Where the thrill for the sailors comes from harnessing the wind.
yeah, yeah,
Two different things, and uh neither one of them can be controlled at times. But
yeah.
it's just two different ways of looking at the same problem. It's like when I taught out algebra and calculus and trig and stuff, it was, two different ways to look at the same problem. And it's like you get the same answer, but you go about it different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely multiple ways to get to the same answer, and boating is, one can be very controversial among depending upon who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like religion with boaters. So uh, when you talked about your high school experience, your and you're writing the book. Is the pacing, the attention, the audience? Do you find that you're applying your high school teaching to that to the writing?
Um, yes, in some ways I do because the kids get bored easy. you have about a 15-minute window and you need to switch something up. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's 5 minutes. And so, if you stay on one thing too long, people are going to get bored.
Right.
I feel like, I don't know if that's the way other people think of it or not. So I try and keep it fresh,
Yeah. You
and then I'll come back to it. So, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this. And, it just keeps them interacted with the book, and it keeps them more engaged, I think.
okay? Yeah. Definitely have to keep things moving along with the book, and the pacing is definitely
Mhm.
um, it has to be on cue with. I think it would was it a sixth grade level of reading that we're writing to. Um, so, are you? I we've talked about so many of these questions, so I'm kind of like figuring out which ones I'm gonna how to drop them in here. Um, you, I mean, I'm failing here, so hold on.
I'm sorry. I just got
Well,
sidetracked when I'm talking, I think.
no, and that's the great thing about the podcast is that, and I told you this from the beginning. I have some questions, and if we cover the questions, we might go sideways. We might cover them early, but it's that's the great thing about just talking about stuff with other authors is that we get to learn who each other are. Our audience gets to know a little bit more about us, and they get to see whether I'm a good host or not. So,
Well, so far great with
uh,
me.
so and I keep hoping that we're going to reach out to other people and build a bigger readership for our books through just talking to each other and finding that common ground and finding letting people know where the basis of our stories is from, and that we're just like everybody else. We come from a diverse background, and um, writing a book. There are people who say writing a book is really hard, but and and I guess it is hard, but it's if you want to do it, it's like anything else. You can sit down and do it and push through the hard work. And you found that out. You told Cap that you just didn't think you could write a book.
Yeah, I thought I said when he told me, he wasn't going to take. I said I always wanted to write a book, but I'm a math and physics nerd. And he said, "No, I'm not going to accept that. Sit down and start writing." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know how to lay it out. English was not my favorite, and in high school and all." And he said, "You don't have to have that. Just sit down and start typing. It will come out. You're kind of crazy anyway, so it'll come out." And so, and my husband was in the background watching Marathon Andy Griffith, and they were talking about Barney's girlfriend Hilda May, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting name for a character. And Hilda May was born,
There you go. That's
and to start off, uh, which is a little different than what you're asking, but when I started, I thought, well, here's what I need. I need my character. I need to decide what my character is. And I said, well, I know about landscaping and nursery work, so let's let her be a landscaper. I know I want it to be a mystery. I know I want it to be set in this area. Um, I know I want her to be, late 20s, early 30s. That's a good age range. And um, and being a landscaper, she's versatile on where she goes because she's always different. She's going this place today, this place tomorrow, that kind of thing. And so that gave me the the basis for what I was doing, and it was like, okay, where's she going? What's going to happen? So
so. Did you sit down and build out a character sheet? Um, have you seen those?
no,
It talked about all the traits of the character and the name and the birth
no,
date
that
and
was
that.
pretty much all I did, and
Okay.
then started typing, and it's like, wow, okay, this is fun and I enjoy it. And was it pretty awful to start with? Yeah, it was not my best attempt, but I had a really good editor, and she helped me because I tend to put a lot of humor in what I write, and she's like, Sally, you're kind of mixing two genres here. We need to back off one and write another book about that because you're funny. And so tone that down, but keep the thriller aspect. But my thrillers aren't boring. Mine are like fun beach reads.
Yeah, And
Yeah.
that's what I think a lot of people just want, that fun beach read, because it's escapism, and they can sit down
Hmm.
and have a good time reading a book, and
Yeah.
not be immersed in like a world of blood and killing and that kind of
And
thing.
another thing that I've had people come to me and say, I really like that there's not a lot any cussing in your books, and not a lot of gore and stuff. It's like, it's like I can share this with my grandma.
Yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Want me to autograph it for her?
yeah. My
So,
my mom doesn't like the fact that my characters will drop the occasional f bomb. She's
uh,
told me, oh, they don't need, you don't, your books don't need that. You don't, stop writing that. And I'm
yeah,
like, I just write what the character says, Mom. I can't help it.
yeah, yeah. About the biggest thing mine says is crap.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's it's a different genre too. It is a thriller genre, but you're writing in a cozy mystery kind of, and my books are more of a straight thriller type of Brad Thor thing.
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
about cozy. They they're not intended to be anyway. So,
yeah.
they the first one, like I said, has more humor in it. Then it builds the characters and all, and then it goes on to it's more thriller. Yeah. I mean, they were
Okay.
thriller anyway. I didn't. It took me for a while to figure out how to figure out what genre I was writing. Did you have any trouble with that yourself?
Um, Well, I knew that from talking to Wayne that I was going to write in that sea adventures
Hmm.
genre, and um, because my character's a former military and lives on a sailboat, and so
Yeah,
I knew that that would be in that genre. And then I went on, and I thought that I was crossing too many genres with that character, so I went on to write just a straight CIA kind of thriller.
yeah.
Um, so
It's easy to cross over. I found. I don't know if you find that or not. That um, it's easy to get distracted when you're writing sometimes and incorporate stuff, and then you have to. Oh well, I need to put that in a different book.
yeah, it's I think I think once you figured out, and not exactly the formula, but once you're
Yeah,
hitting the stride of the character, and you know who the character is, then it's easier to write,
yeah.
and it's
And
easier to
and
stay
it
within
doesn't
that
take
lane.
long.
Yeah,
By the time I was in my second book, I kind of had it figured out. I think.
yeah. When I started my second series with the CIA thriller, I did a whole character worksheet, and I thought, well, I know this guy pretty well. And like I said, I'm a pantser, so I started writing it, and it stayed pretty true to what that um, character sheet was, but there was a lot of new things that I learned from about him that weren't on that sheet. So you have to go back and add that in, so you can keep track of all that stuff. So how do you keep track of what your character's doing? Do you have a character sheet? Do you have like an Excel
Um,
sheet with all the names in it, or
I just have a document that's like, okay, here's the book they were in, the person's name, book they were in, general characteristics of them, and blue hair, not blue hair, blue eyes, brown hair, that kind of thing. I might have a blue haired one coming. Just where do they live? Anything that tweaks up, that might make them special and stand out.
okay?
Just so I don't, and that way I don't go back and repeat a name or something.
Yeah, I have a giant list, master list of all that stuff too. So all the
Mhm.
vehicles and weapons and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff
I
that I've
need,
used.
I'm bad about not doing it in a timely fashion, and I'll have to go back and like fill it in. And I'm thinking, I need a secretary.
Yeah, I do that too, because there's sometimes I'll be editing and I'll look at the sheet and make sure that I've written that stuff down. But
That's a good
so
idea. I need to put it beside me as I'm doing it and make notes and then just fill it in.
yeah,
That's smart.
yeah,
But you have like a character sheet that you said you fill in?
yeah. I just started with the idea what the character was going to be, what his backstory was going to be. So I took
Mhm.
the time to write the backstory. So and it was never going to be for anybody but me. So I
Right.
would know
Okay.
what his backstory is, and I knew who he was going into the books.
Cool.
And then that, but it, like I said, he's changed. He's evolved over the books because I'm a pantser and I don't stick straight to that sheet. But so you said you talked about having a great editor. What is your editing process like? Do you when you sit down to write, do you read yesterday's work and then make changes? Do you just write it all and then just push it off to the editor and make changes when it comes back? What's your process?
No, I wished I could just write it all and then do that, but I write and then I review the next day when I open up. I'll review what I wrote and tweak it. Sometimes I'll back up a chapter or two and do it because I'm thinking, oh, maybe I needed to go back and look and make sure this is filled in enough. But that's generally how I do it, and it slows me down. Sometimes I like my word count is not what I want it to be because I'm going back tweaking, and
Yep.
it's frustrating at times. Like, and then I say, okay, today I'm not doing that. Today I'm going to sit down and just write. And but my fear has always been, okay, I'll sit down and write, and then it's like, well, does it all mesh together?
Yeah.
Because you think, did I go off on a tangent here with somebody? And if as I do it as I go, then it kind of merges and flows better, I think.
Yeah. And I find that that's something that a lot of authors, and especially the tropic authors, do is they'll go back and reread the day's work the following morning when they sit down. And I have at the bottom of my Word document, I have a word count just to how many words are in the document, and I'll change. I'll put that for the starting number and for the day, and then if you go back and read, then you make adjustments, and all those words count on the word count, right?
You just track a bunch of them.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like fudging the numbers, but because you're not adding new, you are adding new words to it because you're filling in, you either adding emotion or context or something to your book. So it's all adds to the word count. So little tip for you there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Then I wouldn't feel so bad. Like the other day, I think I was like my goal was like 1,500. It was like 231. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. But then I looked and I thought, well, I took out these two paragraphs and because I thought they might need to go in a different spot later on, and I just saved them. But it was like, and then one was like, nah, that's just filler. I need to get rid of some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I find that going back and going through the work, you can add. I've added 500 to 1,000 words sometimes going back and looking at stuff. So it all can't. If you're, my goal was usually 2,000 words a day. So it all counts. So it's all new words on the page. So
yeah.
So,
It's been fun.
Yeah, and that's the incredible part about writing is it's your experiences, the journey with the characters, and then your readers get to experience the journey. So, and that leads us into our final question, which is, what is the one thing you want your readers to take away from your books?
Ooh, don't give up. That because Hilda May and Chase both, they persevere. They go forth and, even if they're not totally successful, they tried. And so don't give up, keep trying, keep going forward.
Yeah. That's a great inspirational goal for your readers. And that wraps up today's episode of Plot Recon, where thrillers get tactical. Big thanks to Andi Lodge for breaking down the mechanics behind the Gulf Coast mysteries, the challenges of writing ordinary characters in extraordinary settings, and what it takes to build a series with staying power. If you haven't read the Hilda May novels, start with Missing on the Gulf Coast and work your way through. As always, thanks for tuning in. If this conversation gave you something to think about, share it with another writer, leave a rating, and subscribe for more episodes. I'm Evan Graver. Thanks for listening. Stay sharp, write hard, and keep your fiction tactical.